Hey, this is Comfort, and today I'm going to talk about my song Snowfall. Snowfall is a pretty special song to me because it's the first song I released under this project, and it's also the first time I tried doing vocals myself on the song. I also got to work with my friend Katie Wright on it, which was a lot of fun. From the start, I knew the kind of vibe I wanted to create with this song. I knew I wanted it to be beautiful and kind of have a melodic feel. And so I actually started out with a sample. The sample is from the song Feather by the Devin Townsend Project off of the album Ghost. I really like this song and was really excited to try to reinterpret it and rework it. And so I took two samples from the song. There's this one guitar sample. And also this vocal sample that I thought was very interesting. Ironically, by the time I finished the song, the samples were not a big part of the sonic identity and were actually pretty hard to hear underneath all the other layers. But they still served as an initial creative seed. I guess it goes to show that it's very hard to predict how a creative process will turn out, and that it's totally possible that you can end up in a place very far from where you thought you would end up. So the song starts out with those samples. Then I also added a bunch of synths and sounds of my own. I added this cute bell sound that had a lot of reverb and played one melody. Then I also added this second lead synth, which also had a lot of reverb and glide and played a slower, more dramatic melody. A little bit later in the song are a few other synths that come in. There's this very kind of light saw synth with a lot of reverb and delay. There's also a vocal synth that layers with it. When the drums come in on the first drop, one thing that I think is pretty unique and interesting about Snowfall is the way the hi-hats are done. The other elements of the drums are pretty typical for a trap sound. There's a snare, clap, kick, cymbals, but the hi-hats stand out because they're very fast and are basically all rolls. There's also quite a lot of automation on them. There's automation on the volume, on the pitch, and on the panning. Because there's so much automation on the pitch, in some ways they kind of straddle the line between a percussive element and a melodic element, almost contributing to the melody in certain ways. As for the vocals, they mostly consist of a single hook that repeats the entire song.
One last sight, turn the lights out. Feel your
In order to make it more interesting, I added a lot of vocal layers. There's the main vocal line that I recorded, but then I also added an octave up layer. There's also a lot of vocals that come in from Katie, which mirror the hook. Katie also sent over a bunch of really cool background vocal ideas, which I use extensively throughout the whole song.
One last light, turn the lights out.
In the second drop section, the drums, synths, and bass come back in, but the drums are more conservative this time, and the hi-hats are a little less crazy. One thing that is a little unique is that when I do drums, I like to use a lot of different cymbals, and so I'll usually use a drum rack, which makes that very easy to load a bunch of cymbals and play around. A little later in the song, there's this sort of breakdown section where the hi-hats drop out and the drums become written almost as if they were like metal drums. There's a strong emphasis of a crash on every beat. That all leads up to this final section that's kind of crazy and a lot of elements come back in. The super fast hi-hats from before come back in. There's a ton of chopped snare rolls with also pitch automation, and I add a new synth that's pretty high and sits on top. One last thing I wanted to mention is that in Snowfall, I added a bunch of different little effects and sounds for ear candy. Some of them are a little subtle and hard to notice, but I still think they add to the overall effect. I added a few different magic sounds from video games, and also this one sword sample I like a lot. Also, in between song sections, I had a few different transitions where I used filters and LFO style effects to make it more interesting. That's pretty much all I had to talk about. Thanks a lot for watching.